I want to start off by saying that I do not have like a linguistics degree. I'm no professional of languages. I'm just a guy that speaks two languages. But I have made some observations and I have figured out some things that I think could help you potentially if you're watching this video, right? So, the first thing where I think everything goes wrong is that English speakers are taught to treat the indicative the same in Spanish like they do in English. But the problem is that the way we talk is very neutral, whereas the entire problem is that Spanish is very absolute in terms of, do you think this is factual or do you not think it's factual? Or if you're saying something, it's really happening right now, to the best of your belief anyways, you're only a human being, right? So, if I say, when you're here in English, it's like, I can say that like, hey, when you're here, do whatever you want, like habitually, like when you're here, you do this. That's not what the subjunctive would be. But I also can say like the future, like, hey, when you get here, when you leave, when you blah, 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 which is not happening right now. It's not a fact. It might happen. But we say it the same way, obviously. We use the same words. It's a different idea, but you learn it through context, and you don't think about it. Well, it's the same thing for Spanish speakers. If you speak Spanish, the indicative to you, you're taught from birth that it's absolute. When you say you think, when you say you believe, when you say anything, if you're not saying that you don't believe it, it is actually happening. If I say estás blah blah blah, you are doing that thing. I can't say cuando estás and I'm talking about the near future. It doesn't make sense because once I say estás blah blah blah, you are actually doing it. If I say when you come here, when you get here, cuando vengas, I have to say that because if I say vienes, I'm saying that you're coming right now. You get what I'm saying? Does that make sense? If I say, let me know when you're ready. In English, I say, let me know when you're ready. In Spanish, if I say estás listo, I am saying that you are ready right now. So I can't say that. I have to say cuando estés listo, because that's in the future. It's not happening right now. You get what I'm saying? Does that make sense? And so the problem to me is that two things. One, when people start learning Spanish, people tell them, don't worry about the subjunctive right now. Don't worry about the subjunctive right now. That's my washer. It sounds like it's about to come off the hinges. They tell them not to worry about the subjunctive right now. And you have no comparison to make. So you just learn the indicative. You're thinking about it in a really passive, neutral way, just like you do in English. And then you're introduced to the subjunctive and you're like, what is this, bro? Like, I don't understand. The second problem is the way that people are taught to think about the subjunctive. They're taught to think about it as, should I use this subjunctive right now? When really you should be saying, should I be using the indicative? Because if you think, should I use the subjunctive right now? For instance, like the sentence that we just said, cuando estés listo. If I'm about to say, in my mind, if I say, when you're ready, and I say, should I use the subjunctive here? When you're ready? When you're ready? Oh, that's in the future. I do know that they're going to get ready. No. I don't know if they're going to get ready. I have doubts. That's what they tell you. If you doubt it, then you should know. It's easier than that to me. If I say cuando, and I'm talking about the future, I know I don't know it because we're not in the future. It's not happening right now. And since it's not happening right now, I'm going to say it's this. I already know. Cuando is always going to be the subjunctive almost, unless I'm talking about something habitual. And so instead of doing it the reverse way, should I use the subjunctive? Should I use the indicative? Should I be saying this in an absolute? It sounds the same, but it's not the same. I know that sounds really weird, but if you start thinking about it in that way, like, is what I'm saying really happening right now? Uh, I think it'll help you a lot. I might have to re-record that section. That was really loud. I'll look at the video and see if I need to re-record it. But anyways, like I was saying, should I be speaking in absolutes? Should I be saying what I'm saying? Is the way that I like to think of it more, instead of saying, oh, should I use the subjunctive here? Because you can do that all the time. You can always say, well, do I really doubt it? And that's another thing too. If we're talking about doubts, absolutes, beliefs, facts, that's another thing. Because we think so passively in English, we don't think that believing something is absolute. If I say I think in English, that's a doubt. In Spanish, that's not a doubt, because I absolutely believe it. I'm speaking on something that I, with 100% certainty, believe. If I say creo que blah, 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 I believe that, bro. Now, once I say no creo, now we're talking about something that I don't believe. We're not talking about an absolute fact anymore. We're not talking about something that's happening, really. We're talking about the subjunctive, right? And so my advice to you, besides changing the way you think about the indicative, is this is something that you actually will see. People do teach this correctly, I think. It's just getting more experience with it, talking more, having someone that'll actually correct you. Because just like I just told you about English, how you learn things through practice and context, that's the same thing with Spanish. Like, kids use the subjunctive in Spanish. Like, little kids. Like, not only have I talked to little kids, I watch little kids on social media, TikTok, all of these apps, and I'm like, wow, like, this 4-year-old has a really good grasp of the subjunctive. That's all they know, bro. So, like, when the same way in English, you say, oh, I what do kids say? Oh, I run to the store. And then, an adult says, no, you ran. Someone could say, oh, that's a fine grammatical point. They don't need to learn that until whenever. No, it's just, you hear it, you correct it. Eventually the kids stop saying it. It's the same thing. If they're using the indicative, if they're saying cuando, blah, 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 you can automatically start telling them, hey, estés, cuando estés. And eventually they're gonna know, almost all the time when I say cuando and I'm talking in this kind of way, I'm gonna say estés, vengas, blah, 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 stuff like that, right? So I'm trying to keep this grammatically simple. I don't want to talk about like the past subjunctive and stuff like that. I'm just kind of trying to change your frame of the indicative. I don't actually want to get into a lesson about the subjunctive. The whole point of this was supposed to be a rant on the framework of the language, right? So I know I've kind of just been all over the place. Hopefully some of it made sense. But to sum it up, again, when you say something, ask yourself, is this happening right now? Is this happening absolutely right now? If I tell you, when you go to the store, I can't say, hey, cuando vas o cuando te vas, like, because once I say vas o te vas, I'm speaking about you actually leaving right now. You get what I'm saying? So if I'm saying, hey, when you go, cuando vayas, cuando te vayas, that's something that's not absolute. It's not happening right now. ¿Te vas? No. ¿Vas? No. Vayas. Cuando vayas. That's the future. That's something that I don't know. And it's, again, like I said, the focus isn't on, oh, should I be using the subjunctive? It's that you're not leaving right now. If you're sitting here in front of me, I'm like, hey, cuando te vayas, blah, blah, blah. Cuando vengas, blah, blah, blah. it's, yeah, I'm running out of stuff to say about it. Hopefully this changed your framework. Like I said, start thinking absolutes for your indicative. The indicative in Spanish is not the same as the indicative in English. Neutral, absolute, aggressively factual Spanish, okay? Let me know if you have any questions. I'll try to clarify anything. Like I said, I made this video on the fly. I was just thinking. I can't remember what I saw. I saw someone saying they didn't understand the subjunctive. And then the way that they were describing it, I'm just like, yeah. You're going about it all wrong. All kinds of wrong. It's not, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not hard, because it's absolutely hard to learn a language that's not your own. But that particular concept is like demonized for no reason to me. Yes, it will give you some trouble just because it's something you're not used to doing. But I just don't think it's that much more difficult than any of the other features in the language. You know, there's also conjugations that we don't have. There's, you know, forms of the past tense that we don't use. But for some reason, the subjunctive itself is just like made into this monster that you will never conquer as an English speaker. That's just not true. If you tell yourself that, of course you're gonna suck at it. Like I said, change the way you think about the indicative. I guarantee you the way that you change, the way that you think about the subjunctive will change. And you won't have to think about it so much. Is it happening right now or not? Anyways, I'm done talking. I will see you guys another time. Thank you for watching. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, which means absolutely nothing, but it's dope though. Peace.